WWE Smackdown Shut Your Mouth was released on November 13, 2002. The game was bigger, it was badder, the roster was huge. The character models had been improved, new matches, a 2-year season mode, new ways to kick ass, basically a huge improvement over the previous installment. Let's quickly look at what was going on in real life at this time in the wrestling world. By November 2002, WWE was the most dominant brand in all of wrestling. No other company in the world could touch WWE. New Japan Pro Wrestling, though extremely popular in Japan, hadn't fully made its way to North America, and TNA and Ring of Honor were 6 and 9 months old and still finding their footing in the wrestling world. As I said, WWE were the most dominant company in all of wrestling, and no one could touch them. Times were changing in WWE as well. The roster was beginning to change as some wrestlers from WCW and ECW had become WWE names such as Booker T, Billy Kidman, and Rob Van Dam. New young upstarts were looking to start their legacy such as Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar, and legends had returned home. Long and short of it, WWE and the wrestling world were in a transition phase as the Attitude Era had come to an end. There was no competition for WWE, so they went ahead and split the roster, having superstars wrestling specifically on Raw and Smackdown, creating internal competition and renaming the company from WWF to WWE with their Get the F Out campaign after being forced to by the World Wildlife Fund. Back to WWE Smackdown Shut Your Mouth. For the 4th game in a row, the buttons were exactly the same. THQ and Nukes had stuck with the formula that was so easy to play, and it was still totally worth it. Again, why fix something that isn't broken? But the problem is that it was rather tiresome. That's not to say they didn't make some awesome improvements. Take this for example. Ever wanted to replicate what Shane McMahon did at Backlash 2001 where he jumped off the set to hit Big Show with an elbow drop? Well, in certain arenas you could climb the set and hit an aerial attack on your opponent. If you miss though, the selling animation is just hilarious. The character models had been improved on as well, and many of the wrestlers in the game looked like their real life counterpart. Well, by PS2 standards they did. Trust me, this was awesome to see how realistic they looked in 2002 in comparison to real life. Overall, they just looked better than they did in WWF Smackdown Just Bring It. Let's also say you're playing as The Rock, and you're a champion. Well, remember on TV he would carry the belt loosely in his hand to the ring and do his pose on the turnbuckle with the belt in hand? In Shut Your Mouth, he does exactly that. One more positive to mention with WWE Smackdown Shut Your Mouth is the introduction of alternate outfits. This had not been done in the previous Smackdown games, but became an unlockable feature in the game. So if you want to face The Rock outside of his ring outfit and in his casual gear, you can, once you've unlocked it. One of my main complaints with Just Bring It was the saving and load times. They were terrible. For Shut Your Mouth, these have been improved on tenfold. Instead of taking what feels like a lifetime, it is a lot more reasonable and better. The arenas in the game as well have changed, with both Raw and Smackdown arenas looking like the sets from the shows. The pay-per-view arenas have changed. So far throughout the Smackdown games, they've used a generic pay-per-view arena. For Shut Your Mouth, the arenas have been revamped to look like the sets that WWE used between August 2001 to July 2002, including WrestleMania 18. The sets have all been replicated perfectly, except for Armageddon, which looks like a generic house show set, a tiny negative against an otherwise awesome improvement. The staple that is Creator Wrestler has returned once again and been expanded upon, but there is no Creator pay-per-view. Again. Both are positive and negative. Can't have it all. Now that I've breezed past those things, let's get into the roster side of things. The roster was increased and was bigger than Just Bring It. In the previous game there were 44 playable wrestlers, and in Shut Your Mouth they've increased it to 60 wrestlers, with 52 male wrestlers and 8 female wrestlers. Still a rather large ratio, but we're used to it at this point. We had a whopping 25 new or returning wrestlers coming back to the series, including Booker T, Brock Lesnar, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, Randy Orton, Ric Flair, Rob Van Dam, Shawn Michaels, Stacy Keibler, and Tori Wilson. Here's the full list for you though. To go with the new, we said goodbye to a small number of wrestlers as they were either released, retired, or seeked new pastures and were subsequently cut from the Shut Your Mouth roster. These include one notable name who was removed from the roster before the game was released is one Scott Hall. Scott Hall had returned to WWE with the NWO in February 2002 and had a match with Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 18 and selling the best set of stunners ever. His return to the company was very short-lived and lasted around 3 months, as he was released from WWE in May 2002 after what has become known as the plane ride from hell. Long and short of it, after the WWF Insurrection pay-per-view event in London, England, the wrestlers on their way back from London to the USA got rather drunk and stupid. Hall, who had a history of substance and alcohol abuse and had wanted to work with the WWE again and prove that he could work with the WWE schedule again, got drunk and made some very sexual remarks to 2 female stewards and licked one of them on the face. After landing in the USA, Hall was passed out drunk and had to be dragged through customs in a wheelchair. After the incident, he was released from the company due to his actions on the plane. Due to the brand split in April 2002, the championships were divided as well. The undisputed WWE champion would defend his championship on both shows, whilst if a wrestler was drafted to Raw or Smackdown, they would defend that championship exclusively on that show unless there was a challenger from the other show at a big event like SummerSlam. Anyway, the championships that were available in 2002 were available in Shut Your Mouth. The undisputed, Intercontinental, European, Hardcore, Tag Team, and newly introduced WWE Cruiserweight Championship are all available in the game. To win the championship has been revamped as well, and I will explain that when I get to the new and improved season mode. There's something strange about the Cruiserweight Championship though. Here's the Cruiserweight Championship when it was reintroduced in WWE. This was the design used between 2002 and 2007. The design used in the game is the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. So, quick history lesson. When WWE bought WCW in March 2001 and the Invasion storyline started a few months later, the WCW Cruiserweight Championship was used during the Invasion. Once that storyline came to an end, WWE continued to use this design until May 6, 2002, when a rebranding from WWF to WWE came into effect. As opposed to create the championship belt that was held by the likes of Matt Hardy, Gregory Helms, or Jacqueline, they stuck with the WCW design. Was it out of laziness or not enough time to change the belt design? We will never know, but this is always a neat thing to note. With a new game comes new match types, right? Well, WWE Smackdown Shut Your Mouth didn't really have many new match types to go into. Okay, the match types from previous games are still in this game, like single, hardcore, last man standing, and more. And there's new variations of matches you can play, like Triple Threat Tornado Tag Ladder Match, where you can recreate the infamous Triangle Ladder Match from WrestleMania 2000. But the new match types is kind of weak. There's Elimination, which is basically a tag team match with many variations, and the aim is to eliminate the whole team. But the most exciting is arguably Elimination Captain Full Tornado 6-man tag. where the goal is to pin the captain of the opposing team, but you can eliminate other members of the team. So, this builds a race to pin the captain before you or your captain is pinned, and you can be in a world of hurt if the numbers game is against you. The other is, and drum roll, lumberjack match. This is only a one-on-one match and you have to win by pinfall or submission. There's a catch though. You've got a selection of wrestlers outside of the ring known as lumberjacks, and if you or your opponent get thrown out, the lumberjacks will attack you. The best thing about the new match types is Hell in a Cell. Okay, hold on. Wasn't Hell in a Cell introduced in SmackDown 2? Why yes it was. But what did the design of the cell look like? Basically a normal cage where it is attached to the ring with a roof on top. In Shut Your Mouth, the cell is accurate. This is something that SmackDown fans wanted from the beginning, and now we can play Hell in a Cell matches the way they were intended, with absolute carnage and brutality. Now it's time to move to the main event of WWE Smackdown Shut Your Mouth, and it is the season mode. They got rid of the super short story modes from Just Bring It and expanded it, and it is massive. You go through 2 whole years worth of storylines, and depending who you choose to play as, there's a whole bunch to go through that will affect your journey. I did a 2-year season as Chris Jericho, so let's take a look at some of those highlights. You kick off with Linda McMahon, who informs you that the draft is coming, where you can pick the wrestlers who will perform on Raw or SmackDown, and you have the option of doing the draft yourself or let the AI do it for you. I opted to do it myself, and this is how my 10 picks looked. Once that is done, the AI finishes off the draft and shows you the full roster for both Raw and SmackDown. You'll notice one thing though, next to the wrestlers is a number. But what is this number? This is the wrestler's superstar points. The superstar points are the metric to judge how close you are to a title shot for a specific championship. The less superstar points you have, the further away you are, and the more you have means you can challenge for one of the mid-card championships or the undisputed WWE Championship. It effectively acts as the brand new ranking system, but it is the best they've come up with since the SmackDown series started. Now to the highlights. To kick off this mammoth of a full season playthrough, I started by declaring myself the #1 contender to the undisputed WWE Championship, which then turned into a tournament to determine the #1 contender at WWE Backlash. In this tournament, it included Jeff Hardy, Rob Van Dam, and Eddie Guerrero, and I defeated Jeff Hardy first, then faced Rob Van Dam at WWE Backlash, defeated him, and became the official #1 contender to the undisputed WWE Championship. May kicks off with the undisputed WWE Champion, The Undertaker, congratulating me on becoming the #1 contender to his championship. He then begins to tease me with a stipulation, leading to him attacking me at the World. Then in the 3rd week states that if I lose the title match at Judgment Day, I will be suspended from WWE. To make matters worse, Rob Van Dam declares himself the #2 contender and inserts himself into the undisputed WWE Championship match, making it a triple threat match. In the match, I go ahead and win the undisputed WWE Championship and avoid suspension. The King of the Ring tournament is about to get underway, and I decide to talk a little bit smack about one of the participants, namely Christian. After a match I have with Scotty 2 Hottie, Farouk comes out and attacks me, becoming my challenger for the undisputed WWE Championship at King of the Ring. As you can imagine, I defeat him and retain my championship. To make matters a bit more spicy, I take things one step further. Christian wins the King of the Ring tournament, and I decide to interrupt the crowning ceremony and then go ahead and knock his ass out. Because why not? I mean, why not indeed? Because I do what I want when I want. Christian, who is now wearing his big boy pants, squares up to me and we get interrupted by Ric Flair, so I knock him out too. Flair, not being very happy about this, informs me that at Vengeance I am to face not one, but two challengers. The first is Bradshaw, and if I am successful, I will face the King of the Ring winner, Christian. Walking into Vengeance, I successfully defeat both Bradshaw and Christian one match after the other to remain the undisputed WWE Champion heading into the summer. As we head to the biggest party of the summer, SummerSlam, there's growing tension between the owners of WWE, Vince McMahon and Ric Flair. Guess who needs my help? Ric Flair. I think not Flair because I knock him out again. Flair, being extremely butthurt from this, decides to book me into a match with Stone Cold and assigns himself as special guest referee, and then takes me out of a triple threat Hell in a Cell match against Booker T and Brock Lesnar and puts me in a regular triple threat match against Lesnar and Austin. Doesn't do any good, seeing as I win. At SummerSlam is a 6-man tag team match where I tag with Eddie Guerrero and Reverend Devon against Lesnar, Austin and Booker T, where I suffer my first defeat in this full season playthrough. To my chagrin, Flair decides to attack me and then celebrate over my fallen body. Can things get worse? Yes, as I'm still involved in a Vince and Flair as Vince is concerned that there may be a traitor among the SmackDown superstars and he thinks it could be Kurt Angle, Rob Van Dam or Goldust. Me being the detective that I am, begin my investigation to find out that it was indeed RVD who is the traitor. That turncoat isn't the only one, as it turns out that Goldust is also a traitor. They both attack me 1 week after another. I challenge RVD to a hardcore match at Unforgiven and then go ahead and defeat the Benedict Arnold. Vince decides to give me an important task, and that is improve the SmackDown ranks, and my options are Rhino, Billy and Chuck. Wow, just top tier superstars. Anyway, after getting into a fight with Rhino backstage, Vince says the best ever. He says, "I'm so impressed in your ability to disappoint me, and go away and think about what you've done. I've literally been scolded by a disappointed father." Another random side note is that I face Stone Cold, where the loser of the match has to kiss the biggest ass in WWE. After beating Austin, Rikishi comes out and then I slam Austin's bald-headed face into the big Samoan booty. Anyway, back to business. Flair announces to Vince that at No Mercy there will be 3 important singles matches, which doesn't happen because I end up defending my undisputed WWE Championship against The Rock in a ladder match, and it is one of the hardest matches I've had so far, but I am successful in defending my championship and I am still the undisputed WWE Champion. Linda McMahon makes a triumphant return to put an end to the Vince and Flair bullshit and states that they will have a match at Survivor Series, and that there will be an elimination match as well to determine the true owner of WWE. Am I able to escape the childish squabble between Vince and Flair? No! Vince recruits me to be on his team. Flair goes ahead and names his team, and it consists of Kane, Stone Cold Steve Austin and Brock Lesnar. Vince proceeds to name his team, which consists of The Rock, Kurt Angle and myself. Before Survivor Series, Flair attacks me once again and announces that his match with Vince will be a street fight, and if he wins then it will be a table elimination match. Well, Flair gets the win, gets full ownership of WWE, meaning that the main event is indeed a table elimination match, which my team win, of course. Got to rub some salt in Flair's face. One of Flair's first actions is to announce a championship match at Armageddon. Okay, that's cool with me, but Vince still wants to swing his geriatric dick around and wants to make it a 6-man match, which Flair agrees to, and they pick 3 superstars. Well, Flair picks Kane, Booker T and Brock Lesnar, whilst Vince picks The Rock, Kurt Angle and myself, Chris Jericho. What match can contain these 6 powerhouse superstars? Oh, just a Hell in a Cell match. The match, as you can expect, is extremely chaotic with things going on all over the place, and as much as I would have hoped I would be able to defend my undisputed WWE Championship, Kane wins the championship, ending my 7-month reign. The road to WrestleMania has begun, and so is the road to the Royal Rumble, and I'm on a quest to regain my championship. To make it happen, I have to win a number one contenders match against Edge. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. This was one of the most frustrating matches I have been in, as Edge was just all over me. But I persisted and won the match. Kane decides to square up to me after my victory, so I assert my dominance and knock his big red ass out. Is it a smooth ride to the match of the Royal Rumble? Nope. Big Show decides to pipe up and wants to face me in another number one contenders match. Is this match a bit more straightforward? Yes, as I defeat the big giant dope. Kane grows a pair of testicles and attacks me and announces that our match at the Royal Rumble will be a street fight. Well, this has lit my fire, and I send Kane packing by beating him and becoming a 2-time undisputed WWE champion. With the Royal Rumble straight after, who do I get to face at WrestleMania? Booker T. Vince is sure in a surly mood, because what does he decide to do? Oh, he brings back the NWO. Great! From the word go, they immediately insert themselves into my affairs by attacking me, branding me, and Hogan announcing that he will be facing Booker T for the right to face me at WrestleMania. I call out Hogan on multiple occasions, but the fool keeps ducking me and, in another cheap attack, decides to plow into my ambulance with a truck. Sadly, I don't get my hands on Hogan at No Way Out, seeing as he goes ahead and faces Booker T and wins, meaning he will now face me at WrestleMania. I got to face X-Pac, who I defeat. Hogan, I've now got you in my sights. Brock wants to help me. I tell him to go away, but it seems like we're going to be helping each other, as after a match Lesnar has, I help get rid of the NWO. The NWO ranks get bigger and stronger as Big Show decides to side with the NWO, attacks me, and who comes out to help? Lesnar. Well, let me put it this way. I don't need his help, so I do what I like to do. I knocked him out. After a match with Brock, Hogan takes one last cheap shot and attacks me with the undisputed WWE Championship belt. Hogan has nowhere to run now, as he is face to face with the undisputed WWE Champion on the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania. And if you think I am going to let my title reign come to an end so soon, you've got another thing coming, brother, as I go ahead and I beat him. Hogan, realizing the error of his ways, turns his back on the NWO, shakes hands with me, and then hulks out for all the Hulkamaniacs at WrestleMania. Am I finished with the NWO? Yes. Are they finished with me? No! Even though Hulk Hogan has seen the light, the NWA are pissed about it and decide to attack me until Hulk and I form a tag team I like to call the Jericho Hulks. We scare off the NWO until they reveal their new leader, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. I finally finish up my business with the NWO, and who decides to challenge me for the undisputed WWE Championship? The Olympic hero, Kurt Angle. He decides to go the cheap route and knock me out, and introduces the man who made everything possible for him, Ric Flair. At WWE Backlash, Brock Lesnar becomes the number one contender for the undisputed WWE Championship, and I face Kurt Angle, who I defeat even with Lesnar interfering in my match, and continue my reign as the top guy in WWE. Here's something that was a little neat. I was offered the movie role, but I'm dedicated to WWE and my championship, so I turn it down. Then, to make my life a little bit worse, Lesnar blindsides me and attacks me. Even though Brock is already the number one contender, he still demands a title match, so I agree to the Big Dope's request. Flair, who just loves getting in my business, makes the match official and also states that there will be 2 title matches, Jericho versus Lesnar, and whoever wins that match will face a mystery opponent. Lesnar attacks me some more, and then my partnership with Hogan comes to an end as he attacks me as well. Hogan just be doing Hogan things and saying, "That don't work for me, brother." Flair finally reveals that the second challenger at Judgment Day will be him. Finally made it to Judgment Day and I face Lesnar and beat him, meaning I can get my hands on Flair, and I take a lot of pleasure dismantling him piece by piece before I put him down for good and make sure he is looking up at the lights as I retain my championship. This is basically the same storyline as the year before. I talked smack about one of the competitors in the King of the Ring tournament, and this time I talked smack about Mark Henry. In the build up to King of the Ring, after a match with Lesnar, I am attacked by Chuck Palumbo, who challenges me to a cage match at King of the Ring. At the pay-per-view, I'll give it to Chuck. He gave me a good challenge and could have won it a couple of times. What a weird world that would have been if he actually won. He didn't know, and I was successful in retaining my championship. Finally, Mark Henry would go on to win the King of the Ring tournament, and instead of interrupting his inauguration, I let him have his moment. In a special appearance at the World Restaurant, Michael Cole asks me, what do I think of Mark Henry? And I show him a bit of respect. He is the world's strongest man after all. Lesnar was still a bit sour that I beat him, so he attacks me until Henry comes to my aid. Cheers, dude. This becomes a rivalry out of respect for each other as we shake hands and help each other, but at Vengeance, that went out the window as he is challenging me for the undisputed WWE Championship. He dreams of winning the title at Dash though, and it is back to the mid-card for you as I retain the title. After the match, I'm approached by Vince, who gives me this really cryptic warning and tells me to watch my back. Vince comes out and explains there are too many useless wrestlers on the roster, and if anyone has a problem, then they're fired. Out comes Flair and they shake hands. What? Flair agrees with him and they declare themselves the undisputed rulers of WWE. Uh-oh. A war between the owners and superstars is upon us. During their incessant waffle and blathering on and on and on, they invite me to the ring for my opinion, and as the undisputed WWE champion, I knock out Vince. Well, I've made my bed and now I got to sleep in it. I attack Hogan. Flair declares that I'm making life more difficult, and Vince thinks he can scare by bringing out that bottom-feeding trash bag hoe he calls his daughter, Stephanie McMahon. Vince also tries to scare me by making an impromptu undisputed WWE Championship match against Booker T, which I win with ease. Then I'm attacked by RVD and Eddie Guerrero, and Lesnar comes to my aid. In the main event of SummerSlam, it is a steel cage tag team match, myself and Lesnar versus Hulk Hogan and Booker T. Hogan escapes first, and after decimating Booker T for a little bit, both me and Lesnar escape the cage to win. Some would say that was a fun match. Not Vince though, who declares it the worst match he has ever seen. I guess he forgot about Briscoe versus Patterson at King of the Ring 2000, then proceeds to fire Lesnar. Flair decides to make a match and he will face me, and whoever loses has to be the winner's personal assistant. We have the match and I win, and boy, am I gonna enjoy this. I force Flair to take my place in a match that I have against Hulk Hogan as I fancy the night off, but sadly he wins. I force him to get me a coffee from the World Restaurant, and by the time he gets it, I don't want it anymore. Probably because it is cold now. Then he attacks me, stops being my assistant, and chooses to face me in a cage match. We have our match and I once again torture Flair, win the match, but my night isn't over as I'm playing double duty as I have to defend the undisputed WWE Championship against Kurt Angle. I'll tell you something, Kurt really pushed me to the limit, and even when I thought I had the match won, Kurt was somehow still in the fight and I gave it everything I had, but that wasn't enough as my 8-month reign as undisputed WWE Champion came to an end. Vince and Flair decide to make a monumental change. They go ahead and vacate the WWE Tag Team Championship and declare themselves the champions, holding the titles hostage. To spice things up a bit, they announce a tag team tournament where the victors will face them at No Mercy. I need to find myself a partner and I have to choose between Kane and Triple H. Both are awesome choices and I picked Triple H. During my playthrough I couldn't think of a name for our team and I have finally thought of one and it was right there in front of me. The Kings of the World. Triple H is the King of Kings and I am the King of the World. Makes sense. Anyway, swiftly moving on. In our first match we beat Rhino and Kevin Nash in a hardcore match. Then we defeat Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit in a cage match. Finally, we beat Booker T and Rob Van Dam in a TLC match and book our place at No Mercy against Flair and Vince for the WWE Tag Team Championship. Long story short, we win the WWE Tag Team Championship and the former champs are so pissed about it that they try to fire us. Not until Linda McMahon makes a triumphant intervention and announces that not only is Brock Lesnar reinstated, but there will be a 6-man elimination match at Survivor Series. Well, I'm going to make this brief. The owners announced that their team for the elimination match will consist of Ric Flair, Vince McMahon and Kurt Angle. They will face the team of Chris Jericho, Triple H and the returning Brock Lesnar. And the match will be a captain full elimination match, meaning I could eliminate the entire team, or if the captain is eliminated, which on this occasion is Kurt Angle, then the match is over. Flair doesn't like Vince making the decisions, they get into an argument, then at Survivor Series my team wins and Vince and Flair once again fight each other. Flair wants to make amends for his actions and offers me a chance to become the undisputed WWE Champion. Of course I accept, but I have to tag with the undisputed WWE Champion, Kane. Well, I don't want to tag with him as I'd rather face the big red ass clown one-on-one. Doing so becomes a bad choice as I'm 99% sure I was going to be in the title match, and it is announced that at Armageddon there will be another 6-man Hell in a Cell match featuring Chris Benoit, Booker T, Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, The Rock, and of course, Kane. What the Who comes to tease me like a prick? Hulk Hogan. Who gets his ass kicked for being a piece of Hulk Hogan. Who do I face at Armageddon in a ladder match? Hulk Hogan. Who gets his ass kicked again for being a piece of Hulk Hogan. Oh, and Lesnar wins the championship. Flair, still trying to make amends, offers me a number 1 contenders match against Hulk Hogan. God, I am sick and tired of dealing with that red and yellow dickhead. Anyway, I beat him. Then, something a tiny bit different. Jeff Hardy wants to be number 1 contender and challenges me. Sorry dude, I love you and all, but I can't let you stop me in my destiny on becoming a 3-time undisputed WWE champion. So I beat him. Brock announces that the match at Royal Rumble is going to be a last man standing match, and before you know it, I become a double champion. As I do indeed become a 3-time undisputed WWE champion, as well as one half of the WWE Tag Team Champions. Oh, and Booker T once again wins the Royal Rumble match. I'm getting closer to the end and I have to get through No Way Out first. Vince announces an undisputed WWE Championship match at the event and names my opponent, Chris Benoit, with a twist. Vince McMahon will be the special guest referee. Vince being Vince decides to attack me after a match and announces that the undisputed WWE Championship will be an Iron Man match. Even the team of the Rabid Wolverine, Chris Benoit and Vince McMahon can't stop me from achieving my destiny of main eventing WrestleMania 2 years in a row as I absolutely destroy Chris Benoit in the Iron Man match by defeating him in a stunning victory 13-4. I'm going to WrestleMania, baby. The road to WrestleMania can be a bumpy one with many twists and turns. I'm attacked by RVD and Benoit and was subsequently saved by my WrestleMania opponent, Booker T. We shake hands, forming a temporary alliance. Booker T gets attacked after a match, and staying true to this alliance, I help him out. We then decide what our match is going to be, and we agree that it should be a Hell in a Cell match. Then our alliance comes to an end as Booker attacks me. Well, I can't let that go unpunished and give Booker a nice tasty receipt by kicking his ass. At WrestleMania we put on a hell of a match, but there can only be one winner in a match this epic. And guess who the winner is? Me, Chris Jericho. After the match I celebrate in the ring, raise Booker's hand as a mark of respect until our sweet moment is ruined by Vince. He talks a load of old so me and Booker take it upon ourselves and tell Vince, shut your mouth and knock him out. The reviews of WWE Smackdown Shut Your Mouth were just like the previous installments. They were very positive. Here's a selection of the scores that the game received. Just like the previous games, WWE Smackdown Shut Your Mouth was certified platinum from the ELSPA after selling at least 300,000 units in the UK. This was easily the best in the series so far. Shut Your Mouth didn't reinvent the wheel, but it rounded out the edges from the wheel left by Just Bring It and made them bigger, like upgrading from a mini to a 4x4. It's bigger and better, but the grind to get the best out of that 4x4 is huge. There's tons of unlockables to get and requires going through the 2-year season mode multiple times to get everything. It's a chore, but totally worth it. Like the road to WrestleMania, we've reached the showcase of the Smackdown games. 1 year after Shut Your Mouth, we were all screaming, "Here comes the pain."
Rated T for teen.
When you're Brock Lesnar, you gotta watch your back. Chris Benoit tried to take me out in the Elimination Chamber.
You're nothing, Lesnar.
And that punk John Cena
I run this terrain. Here comes the pain.
came after me backstage. But no matter what they do, no matter how hard they try, there is nothing and no one that can stop me.
You and me, Braun Penny's match, right now.
I win.
No, Brock, we all win. Smackdown, here comes the pain.